In my crate opening from the other day, I gave you this little snippet. How can you play like this? How are you not dying of boredom? What are you doing? My fucking god, man. I promised you 2 videos about Tales of Tribute, and in this one, you will see why I absolutely despise this card game. Initially, I only wanted to get the achievement done for Zerith-Var. He wants you to win or play, I'm not quite sure, a Tales of Tribute match. So while I was able to avoid and dodge this card game successfully for quite a time, at this point I kinda had to face it. Luckily, it coincided with the Breton event we had just a few bags, which meant I'd get double coffers for the Tales daily quests. So I thought, alrighty, I'm gonna track these coffers and deduce drop chances, you know, as I do. And I figured I'll be done with it when I manage to get both achievements that want you to complete the daily quests 30 times. And what can I tell you? I just can't anymore. I really tried. I did play this card game for more than 40 hours in a time span of 2 weeks. It ate up so much of my time and I'm not even max rank yet, despite the fact playing 214 matches as of writing this video script. And all that wouldn't be as bad if I would just be terrible at the game. And sure, I'm not an expert, but this card game is so incredibly luck dependent that it's not even fun anymore. This game has many major flaws which ruin the experience in my opinion, and we will go over a few of them now. Let's start by talking about buying cards from the playing field. When the match starts, each player gets between 3 to 6 coins depending on their draw. With these coins you can buy cards from the badge of 5 that are randomly picked according to the patrons you've picked. We'll get there, don't worry. And right away we are faced with the first issue, because if you get unlucky, it can happen that your opponent starts first and gets lucky that there is a 2 coin and a 3 coin card available for purchase that they are able to afford. Naturally, they will get these cards because building your deck is your top priority. So we have this scenario. Your opponent got 2 good starting cards and now it's your turn. But what happened is that the new cards that went to the table are high value cards that are worth 7 or 8 coins each, which means you are unable to purchase them. So what happens is that you have like 4 or 5 coins, but you are unable to buy cards. And this is especially bad when Alessia isn't picked as a patron, which allows you to buy cards off of her deck for 4 coins. At this point, you essentially already know that you have most likely already lost the game. Because your opponent will get to a high coin round much faster than you, making it possible for them to buy higher value cards way faster than you. At this point, you barely gotten any cards at all. You're left with exchanging your single coin cards to 2 coin cards, and you're forced to end your turn. At this point, I knew the match is gonna suck, because from here, the opponent will just snowball and you're stuck. Extra points for suckiness when your opponent is someone who really takes their time with each turn. So you're left stuck waiting minutes every time it's their turn and you just want out of this match and wonder at what point in life you took the wrong turn. God, please play the game. Oh my god.
2 hours later.
Oh, they're playing. Okay, but aside from ridiculing this game, here is a bit of constructive feedback. Make it so that there is always cards available for purchase that are below a coin value of 5. With this, you give the player who gets less lucky a better chance to recover. And if you're thinking right now, boy, that sounds like an awful experience, don't you worry, this is not the end. Adding to this luck factor, the drawing of cards can be such a hit or miss that it can essentially use you the game despite being ahead the whole time. When you hit 40 prestige, you enter the endgame and your opponent will always have to match or exceed your amount of prestige. Once one player reached 80 prestige, they immediately win. It doesn't matter what happens after that, it's just over. So here's the thing. I was ahead the whole game, and I end my turn with 37 prestige or something similar. And my opponent has 22 prestige, which is definitely not out of the game, but they're a bit behind for sure. The opponent now proceeds to get incredibly lucky with their card draws, and by some miracle manages to get to 40 prestige. Now my draw. I only need 3 prestige, no biggie, I can do it. Oh, what's that card draw? Only coins? No power cards? No way for me to earn prestige? Oh boy, this is fun! I can't match my opponent's prestige despite the fact being ahead the whole game. I played better, but my opponent gets lucky and I get unlucky. I lose the game, wasted 15 minutes and hate this game more every match that ends this way. And this isn't some rare occurrence or a minor flaw that happens in 1 in 100 matches or so. Not at all. Nope. It happens so frequently that is basically the nature of the game. I know, luck is always a factor in card games, but among the other issues I have with this game, it just adds to the frustrating experience. Let's get to another concrete example where I will show you that the game punishes you for trying to progress the match. In this example right here, I am purchasing a barter card, which allows me to replace 1 card from the playing field. This essentially means replacing 2 cards, because the barter card itself results in a new card as well. What happens now is that the new cards are available for purchase, but as you can see, since I have made the choice of buying the barter card, I am unable to afford anything. But that means now that the opponent is able to afford the cards that I made available in the first place. So I get a turn with essentially nothing of value and I basically play for my opponent. And this is exactly what happened. The opponent purchases the crow card that I would have liked to get. This creates a dynamic where usually both players are aware of this situation, which results in a stalemate where neither player is willing to replace the tavern cards, which turns the match into a slogfest where both players hope for something to happen, because whenever you try to move the match along, the game punishes you for doing so. Ugh, it's terrible. Let's have a quick look at patrons. I'm not going into detail about every patron because that'd be out of scope for this video, but here are all the patrons that are currently in the game. And I'd like to personally question the designer who made Almalexia and Celarus a possibility. If you see your opponent pick Almalexia, you already know that this one's gonna be an absolute horrible experience. Because with Almalexia cards, the whole shtick is you being able to draw new cards, replace cards that you have on your hand, which results in incredibly long turn for the player that decided to lean into these cards. All the while not inherently providing any value to the progress of the match when it's not combined with a different set of patron cards. So what happens is that your opponent essentially infinitely shuffles through their cards without anything much happening. Celarus does something similar, admittedly not to that extent though. When picking the 4 patrons for the match, it is essential for both players to be aware of the necessity of at least 1 power or prestige providing patron. What happened to me frequently was that there were only patrons in game that granted plenty of coins and other utility, but no way of gaining power and prestige. And if you don't know, power translates to prestige when you end your turn, which means that it's impossible to get to 40 prestige in a reasonable time frame. The amount of times where I picked my patrons in a way that I set my opponent up perfectly to pick the missing power patron only for them to pick something completely mindless matches about the amount of times I took a nap when I really shouldn't have. Alright, I could get into more examples, but this should give you an idea for now. And yeah, I've been shitting on this game constantly throughout this video, but I'd like to add that at the core, this is a decent card game that could be very fun with some improvements. Which improvements that exactly could be, I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm not a card game designer, nor do I have much clue about this. And to give you a little bit of context as to why these achievements have been such a pain for me. One of the daily quests asks you to win at least one match against another player. With all the weaknesses of the game that I've been mentioning in this video, it can take an hour or even longer for you to finally be able to win a match. And this isn't the end. You can win up to 3 matches a day for a greater reward. And since I was collecting the job chances for all the different coffers, it was in my best interest to get the best rewards possible. So, I think you have an idea now why this card game broke me a little. Please share your thoughts on the game in the comments with me. I bet there are plenty of people around who have never touched this game and really don't want to after this video. If you made it this far, consider liking the video and perhaps even thinking about becoming a channel member. There's a link in the description. Just like Subilov did the other day on stream, so a huge props goes out to him and a huge thank you from my part. I really appreciate that. Other than that, I hope you have a great day, I hope you have an awesome day, you take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.